Today in the Joy of Editing, we're doing something a little bit different. No full edit today. We're taking a look at the TK Edit Blend Diff interface and how to take full advantage of it in your Photoshop editing. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly and welcome to TK Friday. Something a little bit different today. I want to really explore the Edit Blend Diff interface. It's such a powerful tool, but we're going to go over some of the really key features so we can get the full usage out of it in our photo editing process here in Photoshop. But before we dive in, I want to tell you about the holiday sale that's going on over at the TK Web Store. It's that time of year for holiday savings at the TK Web Store. You'll save 25% off your entire purchase. That's TK panels, training videos, everything. So use my promo code DK15 during the sale. It will give you 25% off. And when you use that code, I make a small commission, which helps support my channel. So I really appreciate it if you'll use DK15 and save 25% off everything. The sale ends on December 1st, 2025. So jump on over to the TK Web Store and use my promo code DK15 and save 25% off. After the sale, it'll go back to a 15% discount. And I wish all of my TK Friday audience happy holidays. And now let's go ahead and jump into the Edit Blend If interface. So if we come up to the multi-mask panel and we click this button right here, and you see me using this in my TK Friday full edits, but I thought it's time to really take a deeper dive into this panel and show you all of its capabilities. Maybe I can't show them all today, but I'll show you as many as I can, things that are really going to be helpful to you. I almost forgot to mention I do have PDF notes for you to download as well as a link to the image I'm using today. You can use this on any image, but I have a link in case you want to use this one. And stay tuned till the end because I do have an Easter egg that's hidden in the Edit Blend Diff interface, so you don't want to miss it. Now, the Edit Blend Diff interface or panel, whatever you want to call it, a lot of times I just call it panel. What it does is it controls Photoshop's Blend Diff. And if you want to see Photoshop's Blend Diff, double-click anywhere on a layer, and the layer style dialog comes up. And what the Blend Diff panel is controlling is the underlying layer. That's important. It doesn't work with the current layer. It works with underlying layers. I'm just going to click cancel for now. So I just wanted to point that out. And basically, it kind of makes working with Blend Diff a lot easier because you can see exactly what's going on in real time when you're working with this interface. Now, to me, the star of Edit Blend Diff is this double arrow magenta button right here. It lets you see what areas that you're targeting. Now, you'll note that I only have one layer here. If I click the double arrow, you see magenta over the entire image, meaning everything is selected. Now, I want to show you something. If you only have one single layer, because remember, Edit Blend Diff works with underlying layers. If I click on, let's say, lights 1, it stays magenta or 2 or any one of these buttons on here. It never changes from magenta. That's because I only have one layer. I don't have an underlying layer. I just wanted to point that out. Right now you can see this symbol says I'm using Edit Blend Diff on this layer, which makes no sense at all. So I'm going to reset this panel. To reset the panel, just click the trash can. And now to get rid of the overlay, just click this button again. In this video, I have 5 different examples using Blend Diff, and the first one involves a vibrance adjustment. Now, right now, I need to get to my multi-mask panel. The Edit Blend Diff interface is open. Click the X to close it, and click this button right here. This is the new vibrance adjustment in Photoshop. It gives you temperature, tint, vibrance, and saturation. What's new here is temperature and tint. And I believe this picker tool is new as well. Let's open up Edit Blend Diff. So I'm going to click this button right here to open it up. Now let's click on the overlay button again. So I'll click right here. Now I do want to spend some time showing you how all of these buttons interact with your image and what they do. And download those PDF notes as a reference for what I'm covering today in the Edit Blend Diff interface. Now the active layer is the color and vibrance layer, and we have an underlying layer, the background layer. And so right now, the entire image is magenta because we're selecting the entire image. If I click on lights 1, the overlay is going over the lightest parts of the image. As you can see, where you don't see the overlay, it's not being affected. And if I click on lights 2, you can see those areas. And then lights 3, everything that sits in the lights 3 range is getting the magenta overlay. And the same for lights 4, 5, and 6. And then we have darks 1, darks 2, darks 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we have midtones. We have midtones 1. It's the less aggressive midtone, but a midtone. We have midtones 2 and midtones 3. And you can see the overlay in the image. But I want you to note right here, the gradient bar. This is very helpful, and it's very important that you understand what's going on here. And notice we have sliders for highlights on the top and sliders for shadows on the bottom. But the gradient bar, the magenta area, that is the area that we are selecting. See, we're in midtones 3 right now. See where it's black here? That is getting no effect, and it graduates off. You can see the graduation right here, where it gets stronger until it hits the center point here, and then it starts tapering off. And when you see the white area here without magenta, those highlights are not being selected. So that's how you can understand what's happening here, what tonal values you're hitting in your image from darks the whole way up to lights. We're going to work with these sliders in a bit. It's a good idea to understand what's happening here. You can see what's happening on the image, but this way you can see what you're targeting from darks, midtones to lights. I'm not covering zones today, but we have zones 1 up to 5, and zone 1 is the darkest zone. Let me click on it. You can see where zone 1 hits. See all the magenta areas? Here's zone 2, here's 3, 4, and 5. And note how the sliders change when I click on the different zones. And remember, this Edit Blend If interface is controlling Photoshop's Blend If. So if I double click right here, you can see that these adjustments on the underlying layer perfectly represent these adjustments up here. I'll click Cancel. So bear that in mind. And now let's look at these buttons here. Now, what the heck are these? X1, X2. All X1, X2s, okay? The first button is No Darks 1. If I click on it, you can see everything is selected but the very darkest darks. And if you look at the gradient bar, you can see where this is black? They are not getting selected. So, you know, every TK Friday when I run a vignette on an image, I protect darks 1 or darks 2. This is what I'm doing, and this is what's happening. And you could see it here in the overlay. Here's No Darks 2. See how this broadened out? It's cutting out more of the darkest darks. If we come over here to No Lights 1, I'll click it, and now it's dropping out the lightest lights. And you can see on the image what is happening. See, these clouds are not getting affected. And if I click on No Lights 2, this range broadens out and more of the lights are not being selected, as you can see. And then we have a combination of No Darks 1, No Lights 1. I'll click on that. And now you can see on this side, we're dropping out the very darkest darks and the very lightest lights. And if we click on No Darks 2, No Lights 2, we're broadening the range. We're dropping out more lights and more darks. So that's what that's all about. I called the magenta overlay button the star of the show, but now I want to show you the supporting actor, the picker tool. I'll click on the picker tool button and note we get a color picker. Now, what we're doing here, if you look at the bottom, we have all our shadow areas, the darks moving the whole way up to the lightest lights. The color picker in this case is only concerned with luminosity values from darks up to lights. It doesn't really care about the colors. That's what we're using the color picker tool for, to pick a luminosity value. We also use the color picker tool for making zone masks. The same principle here. Now, you can click and drag and move this picker around in case you need to get to an area, and you'll note we have the eyedropper here. So what we can do, use the eyedropper to select a luminosity value. If I come down here and click in this dark area, you can see where that luminosity value sits right here in the darks. Now, if I click OK, you can see the overlay is showing me where that is hitting, so we know what we're targeting. Now, by the way, you could come up here with these sliders. This is for highlights. If I wanted to go into more of the highlights, I could take this slider and drag it to the right. When I drag it to the right, I'm picking up more midtones. To the left, I'm moving into shadows. So we can work with these sliders. You can move any of these sliders around. And here's a little tip. On the top or bottom, these are called handles, the circles. If you hold down your Command or Control key and click and drag, you'll move those together, maintaining that feathering. You can go left or right. Now, nothing changes until you release the left click of your mouse, and then you see the change take place, so I wanted to show that to you. I like to use these handles to make fine-tuning adjustments, which you'll see me do when we do the 5 examples coming up shortly. Let me click on the picker tool again. Now let's say I wanted to darken the sky, so I could click up here in the sky and you can see where that luminosity value is and click OK. And you can see it's targeting that area. Now if I want to, I can drop out some of the shadows by taking this handle and moving it into the right, or if I wanted more highlights, I could take this handle and move it to the right. Or let's say I want some more shadows, but I want to maintain the feathering. I can hold my Command or Control key and click either one of these handles and drag this to the left like that, release it, and you can see what I've picked up. So pretty cool. These adjustments can be very handy for fine tuning. And you know, fine tuning is what it's all about when you're editing in Photoshop. And now let's start out with our first example. I'm going to click the trash can just to reset Blend If, and I'm going to shut off my overlay right now. What I want to do is warm up the highlights back in here. Just give them some nice warmth, and I'm going to use the color and vibrance adjustment to do it. Now I need to select these areas and I want to use Edit Blend If. This layer is selected. I'm going to grab the picker tool by clicking this button. And I want to choose the highlights back in here. So I'm going to click like right here. And you can see where that luminosity value hits, and I'll click OK. Let's see where we're targeting by clicking on the overlay button. Okay, you can see the areas that we're targeting. Now we're also getting the sky, but let's not worry about that for right now. I think we're good. I could tweak these handle adjustments if I need to, but I think I'm okay for now. I'm going to shut off the overlay. That's important because that'll stay in your edit if you don't shut it off. And now we can come to the properties panel and make an adjustment. I want to warm this area, and the temperature slider is perfect for that. So I'm going to start to move this to the right and watch that area. See how it's starting to warm up? I'm going to take this over to right there, 31. And now I want to shift the tint a little bit more magenta. That'll warm this up a little bit more. I'll move this over to 9, and let's add some vibrance. I'll move this to the right over to right there, 32. See this area in here? Let me shut this off. Here's before. Here's after. Now I love what's happening in the foreground, but I don't like what's happening in the sky. I've already saved out sky and foreground channels. And the way to do that is hold down your shift key and click this button. It'll save out a sky and a foreground channel. Now I can come up to the layer mask calculator, click this button, click on sky and minus to subtract it, or foreground and this button to apply it. Either way works. I'll shut this off. Here's before and here's after, but look how nicely this is warmed up here in the highlights. I think it's a little too strong, so let me click on the 7 for 70% on the opacity plus panel, which is absolutely free. You can pick it up at Tony Kuiper's web store when you're shopping for holiday items. So let me click the 7. This is 7. Let me shut this layer off. Here's before and here's after. Isn't that nice the way it just warms up those highlights? And if we look up here to the gradient bar, you can see the area magenta that we're covering, these light areas right in here. By the way, 7 stands for 70% opacity. Now let's say I want to narrow the range of the highlights it's hitting, so I can take this bottom slider, drag it into the right a little bit. Now watch the image when I let go of the handle. See, it changes a little bit, so I can like fine tune it and just get the amount that I want. And I think right there, let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Again, before and after. Maybe I want a little more, so I'll drag this over to the left a little bit more. And now I have more in there. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. And that's just where I want it. So don't forget about the handles. They're great for fine tuning, and it's non-destructive. That's the beautiful thing about Blend If. You can always come back and readjust non-destructively. For the next example, I'm looking at the grasses in the shadow. I'd like to make them a little bit more on the green side, and they're in shadows, like I said. I'll use Blend If to help me target. But first, I need to add a solid color adjustment layer, so I'll click the X on the Edit Blend If interface to shut it, because I need to get to my multi-mask panel. I want to use a solid color adjustment layer, so click this button right here. A color picker comes up, and I want to sample a color, so some of the greens in here, I'm going to click right here, and maybe increase the saturation a bit, and maybe we'll click here. We'll start out here. I'll click OK. Now I know it looks horrible right now, but don't worry, because Blend If is coming to the rescue. So come up to the multi-mask panel and click the Edit Blend If button. Now we could use the picker tool, or we know these are dark grasses we want to target. So let's try darks. Let's try darks 1. Here's darks 1. Let's turn on the overlay by clicking this button. You could see that's a really broad dark. We need to narrow it down. Here's darks 2. Okay, that's getting close. Here's darks 3. I think darks 3 is going to do it. We can always tweak the handles if needed. Let's shut off the overlay. Now let's look at the image. Here's before and here's after. Now what we can do is double click this icon and pull the color picker back up. We can adjust this, give it more saturation, make it lighter or darker, depending what we want. Maybe more saturation, and let's just lighten it up a little bit. Maybe right about here. I'm going to click OK. Let's shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Makes this grass a little greener, and it really gives us that extra green feel. So let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Now I did notice it's affecting the shadows in these hay bales, making those shadows green, and I don't want that. So I used the object selection tool and just selected all the hay bales. And now I'm coming to the layer mask calculator and clicking active selection, and I'll click minus. If I click this button, you can see there's our mask. I'll click it again. Now we have an active selection. Click this button to deselect. And now for the next example. What I want to do is do an overall contrast adjustment on the image, but I want to protect the darkest darks and the lightest lights, kind of like a mid-tone contrast, but we're doing it differently. Here's what I'm going to do. Click this button right here on the multi-mask panel. That gives us a curves adjustment layer. And what I want to do is lighten up the highlights like so, a good bit, and let's darken the shadows, give us an S curve on here. Maybe somewhere right about here looks pretty good. I want to protect the darkest darks and the lightest lights, and an easy way to do it is with blend if, so click the edit blend if button. I want to protect darkest darks and lightest lights, but I want to be very broad, so we have two choices. No darks 1, no lights 1, no darks 2, no lights 2. I'm going to go with this one right here, but before I do, I'm going to turn on the overlay by clicking this button. Right now, we're seeing the entire image, so my contrast curve is making the entire image get extra contrast. But watch what happens when I click this button right here. No darks 2, no lights 2. You can see the darkest darks and the lightest lights are getting protected. Click this button again and we can see the result. Now let me shut off this contrast adjustment layer. Here's before and here's after. Again, before and after. But we're not making our darkest darks too dark or our lightest lights too light. And if the effect's too strong, let's turn it down a little bit. Let's try 8 for 80%. How about 7 for 70? Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Pretty cool. Now what I want to do is add a warm color grade to the midtones in the foreground. I want to use the color grading tool. Let's close down the edit blend if interface by clicking the X. Click on the color grading tool button on the multi-mask panel. We add a color grading tool, which is a curves adjustment layer controlled by the color grading tool. Now I'm color grading midtone, so I'll click on the midtone button. You see my cursor, anywhere you click, you'll drop a color grade. And I think I'm going to go like right here. Yeah, that warms up the midtones. We can always change this later. But that's a very broad midtone adjustment. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. But we can fix that with blend if. So what we'll do is click the X to close the color grading panel and nothing changes here. Now click on edit blend if. And now we could sample out midtones because that's what we want. Let's try midtones 1, the weakest of the midtones. Here's midtones 1. Here's midtones 2, a little stronger, and here's midtones 3. You know what? I think I'm going to go with midtones 1 right there. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Now, if we click on the overlay, you can see where those midtones are sitting. Pretty nice. Click the overlay again to shut it off. Now, I don't want it in the sky, so come to the Combo RCX panel, click on the Layer Mask Calculator button, click Foreground, click Apply, and now it's only in the foreground. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. And remember, if it's too strong, we can lower it with opacity. Let's go to 80%. I'll click my 8 button. Let's shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Yeah, that's nice. It really warms up the scene. I might take it down to 70%. Let's click 7. Yeah, I think 7. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. I like it. And don't forget your gradient bar. You can see exactly where those midtones are sitting from darks up to lights. Let's close this panel, then click on the color grading button and open it back up. Let's say we want it less saturated. Click on the midtone button and let's click maybe like right here. So we can change the color grade all non-destructively. And now for that final example, what I want to do is darken up the sky a little bit here and maintain the contrast. So I'll use a brightness contrast adjustment. What I'm going to do is click the X to close the color grading tool. Click on the brightness contrast adjustment. Click on the edit blend if button. I'm going to use the picker tool this time, so I'll click this, sample this area of the sky. This is the area of sky I want to darken up a little bit. These luminosity values in here. So I'll click. You can see that's where it sits. It's a very light value. I'll click OK. Click on the overlay button, and we can see where that value is sitting right there. And what I want to do, it's missing this area and this area. Those are a little darker areas. So I'll take this handle and drag it to the left a little bit. See how I can just pull those in? That's good. Let's shut off the overlay. Now I tried just darkening, and it's only targeting those areas right there. Let me pull this back. It's also getting the foreground, but we'll take care of that. I pulled this back and I felt I was losing too much contrast. So I double clicked the brightness to reset, and I changed my blend mode from normal to soft light, which is a contrast blend mode. I'll click this button right here. It got lighter, but it maintains contrast. Now, when I take the brightness and take it down, see, we still have contrast. And so what I'm going to do is just reduce it a bit, maybe to right here. I think that is good. And now I don't want it in the foreground, so come to the layer mask calculator. And if you saved out your sky and foreground as channels, when you click this button, they're going to be here. Let's click on sky and click apply to the sky. And now it's only in the sky. Now let me shut this off. Look at the sky. Here's before. And here's after. See, we just toned it down. And that, my friends, is it. That completes today's tutorial. Well, guess what? I almost forgot to give you the Easter egg, but here it is. If you want to change the color of the blend diff overlay, all you need to do is Command or Control click on the overlay button. A color picker comes up. Now you want to keep your color the most saturated the whole way over to the right. And to change the color, just take this slider. You can make it more red or blue or green. Let's say we want to make it green like this, and then just click OK. By the way, the hex code value for the magenta overlay is FF00FF. Now I'll click OK. And you can see the double arrow has turned green. And now this is turned green. If you don't see it turn green, just hover your cursor over this area. And now when I click the overlay button, you can see I have a green overlay. That's cool. Now I'm going to change it back. I'll Command or Control click this button again. And now here I'm just going to type in FF00FF and click OK. And now it changes back to magenta. You see it's still green there. When I hover over there, it changes. And that is it. That's the Easter egg. Well, I really appreciate everybody joining me today. Hey, if you enjoyed today's tutorial, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click the bell notification icon. Click all so that you receive all notifications. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.